Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Look at that. Look at the aluminum. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome back to another installment, and we're gonna make some small effort to break them up. Jolly Green's Winter Weight Loss Wonderland. I cut the blanks. They are right here. 23 by 4.5 times 2. We're gonna cut, of what you see there, which would be 9 by 23, we're gonna cut about, probably 80% of that stuff away. We've got our storyboard. Do you remember the storyboard? Axles, shocks, upper link mounts, mid-lowers, all those. We'll grab the skid, we'll grab all the things. First, what we gotta do is, we gotta determine how much is gonna be in each installment. I don't know. We gotta get them a little more bite-sized. So we picked the one that we like the look of, and I think is it this one? Man, it doesn't matter. This is the one in my hands. We're gonna do it this way. This is the one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slap this down, and look how we're gonna just eyeball it. There's the rearmost axle. Here's the front axle. We're going to go right about there. And we're going to only get the tech most high. Flexible clamps. We're going to blap this down so that it doesn't try to move around on us. Because, oh, it will. I was trained, when you're using a table saw, when you're using a lathe, even when you're using a drill press, you don't wear gloves. That's how I operated for many, many years, until I started frequently cutting aluminum on a table saw. And like I'm wearing a woodworker's vest. As you can see, the aluminum peppered all over the front of it, because it will just stick. They come off like little throwing stars, and like in the sleeves, they just stick in you. Washer doesn't take them out. Nothing gets rid of them. They're both sharp and not sharp all at the same time. And the vest is nice because, you know, historically as a woodworker, it holds the things that we need it to hold. We got our good old Starrett. Oh, that's the stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark all these vertical lines. Even if they're just placeholder lines, I want them all, because then we're going to do this real simple. There are better ways to do this that are more efficient in terms of consumption of resources, but in the grand scheme of things, like if we take into account that we purchased a whole bunch of tree-all housings, Yeah Racing, not Trail. Yeah Racing. I was thinking of the Dash RC Trail clone wheels. If we think from that perspective, you know what I did not check? I didn't check to see if this is squared on the 42 and 44. You know what? It's close enough. We've already marked it. So the chassis is going to, well, like, we can correct that. There's going to be so much stuff cut off. It's not really a problem. What I should have done, and again, don't let me lead too much by example. I should have butted this all the way up against the top edge to describe it, but we just threw it down in the middle. So front to rear, it's actually tilted 2 millimeters over. Jeez, how many millimeters is 23 inches? It's 580. So it's 1/440th. I think we'll probably be fine. So, flexible clamps, everybody loves them. Then what we're gonna do is, we know that the panhard mount is the most forward line. Do these show up at all? Oh yeah. Camera picks those up nicely. There's our lines. Woodworker style. because you get the finest line you can. So we will go Midatoyo. What I have to do is I now have to butt this against the edge, just like that. And then we need to find a mark which is 82 millimeters from the bottom, which is right there. That is where we're going to drill our hole for the panhard. And then the shock mount is 95 millimeters from the bottom, which is much easier to see. 95 millimeters. And we're going to go down the length and we're going to make those marks. And we're going to, somewhere in this building, God help me, is my stare at auto punch. You know how many places there are that it could have rolled under? Like I thought I might get lucky and find it in the apron, but no. I've been missing it for about a month now. Luckily, we still have one of the vintage Harbor Freights. We're going to go, and then we're going to go. So like some of these marks are just reminder marks. The shock holes are kind of important. The panhard mount, I really want to just use an element bolt-on panhard mount. I will have to dig one of those out of the bin as well. Front upper plus 75. We're going to make the rails symmetrical, even though generally I work from this being the driver's side rail, the left-hand rail. So the left-hand rail doesn't actually need this hole, but we're going to do these rails fully symmetrical. So that is the front upper link mount. We're going to cut so much off of this because basically we're only occupying the very top of this. These are going to be some thin rails. But I felt like in order to, we'll spend a little bit of wasted aluminum in exchange for not having to template. We've got this, which shows us the plus increments. And we know that when the vehicle is fully outfitted and sitting on the ground, this is where these holes should be relative to the ground. So, that's what we're hoping. That's what we're hoping. You know what? In the grand scheme of things, as I said, okay, front lower is 50. Front mid lower is 50. Okay, so I need to do both of those at 50. Aluminum is really cheap. Even so, a 4x8 sheet of 50/52 would be about $300. Right about $300 for a 4x8 sheet. Which means that a 2x4, a quarter sheet, is going to cost you about $70. But this is 1/8 of a quarter sheet, so a 32nd of a sheet. So we're looking at about, let's just ballpark it large and say we're looking at about $10 worth of aluminum to do this. That is a quantity of aluminum that we can mess this up and we'll be just fine. It's not really, and no, I'm not putting a kick on the skid. I don't think a kick on the skid is dramatically helpful in here. I've gotten some good suggestions in the comments, particularly when it comes to things like springing, because the middle axle is forever a problem in 6x6 builds, as far as I'm concerned. Mid upper 65 millimeters. Now those two holes that I just punched, they need to line up with the skid. I will have to pull the skid out of the bin here because I want to make the other holes. We're not mounting, like, we're gonna chop that skid down potentially. Remember, I grabbed the skirts, and we want to see if the skirts line up at any point, because if they do, it will facilitate the mounting of that giant speed control. Then we go to another plus 95 on this one. We're just transferring it over, and then what we're going to do, 95, is we will get I still, axles are still in the bin. I haven't moved any of the parts over. You got to be in the mood to have sharp aluminum shards fired at your face and body and arms. And today, for whatever reason, I woke up in the mood for that to happen. So we are cutting Jolly Green's rails right now. I have a brand new blade for the wood cutting bandsaw, which serves as a metal cutting bandsaw. But I took a look at the existing blade. Honestly, it looks okay. 55 and 70. Ooh, I can mark 2. I don't like to mark 2 at a time because it's too easy to get confused as to which one you've already marked. 55. Drop it back. 70. Because once I get this raw blank drilled, and then we start cutting. Oh, nope. I gotta find that skid. Because much of the chop of the actual chassis itself, yep, right there. Right there. I do like that the holes that mount the skid to the chassis and the holes that mount to the gearbox to the skid are different holes, but with the exact same spacing. They could have gone axial on us and made them like 2 millimeters apart or 5 millimeters apart or whatever for no reason, which is why an axial skid is going on this. Now, we can't determine how much is going to get cut off. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a blue, we will know to be something different. So we're going to make a mark right here. Go with the Klein scribes today. We will make a mark so that we know this is roughly right about there. This is roughly where the skid ends at full length. The rear is most likely not going to be a problem because, oh, and you know what else we can do? We can do this. Let's get these roughed in right about there. No, yep. This is the level of precision to which we operate here. Could have opted to change the wheelbase. Could have opted to do a whole bunch of things, but we're not going to. We're trying to build a TRX4 in the Canyon fashion. These are some helpful marks so that I know where things line up. Okay. First step is to finish punching. And then we start drilling. Because most of these holes are going to be threaded, but we don't drill that one because we have to dig. We got to dig the element bin to get a panhard mount. And I don't think I have a metal one. I probably only have plastic. Yes, indeed, only plastic in the bin. But I found 3 of them, so that'll help. And I found a factory team skid in the gray. Now, this guy is going to be narrower. I want to say 15 millimeters narrower at the waist than he would be as a TRX4, which is great because we can then fit, the body will fit a lot easier. Now, that does beg a question. That being, what are the relative spacings between, give me a TRX4 chassis spacer, and then give me an element spacer. All I'm seeing are servo mounts. There's got to be one. Well, this aluminum one will do. It is actually, what is that? What is that, 2 millimeters wider? Yeah. So we are going to have, a decision. A, do we want to make our own spacers? Well, no. Well, we make it if we have to make it. I would rather don't. I have a surplus of ones like this, which will also clear a tier. So we've kind of just semi-committed. We've unwittingly committed to using these as the rear spacers. For front servo mount, yeah, we want to use Traxxas for that as well. We have alloy for that. Okay, so this chassis is going to have, I would probably call that 6 millimeters of pinch on it. 6 millimeters of pinch is completely manageable. I also realized we did not transfer over any of the markings for things like chassis spacers from the stock rails. That's not a problem. I would like to incorporate 2 of these because the center holes here, I will drill through them so that we can put screws in from the bottom, will really help for affixing the bed section to the rear to be something nice and decorative. We are going to have to fabricate a delete for the rear unless we can find an element delete like what comes on the back of an Ecto, because we're definitely incorporating, we're definitely hybridizing here. Like if I had a bunch of these, or even the OE element ones, I would prefer to use those. I just like the look of them, but I think a bed section will affix to this more easily. So that's what we're going to operate from. We will find those if we can. We only need a front body mount, so we'll probably have to manufacture that. We'll probably make that. You want to see what 2 bins of very different ages? Yeah. All right. So the panhard mounting point is going to be. I feel like we've done something. The panhard mount is mounting at the same point as the shock. I feel like that's not right. And we've disassembled. But we know not to drill this hole. So we'll go ahead and we'll put an X on it. We just know that that is the mark at which the panhard is supposed to attach. This is why one and dones are more effective. That goes right there. Oh no, that looks right. We really did build this for full droop, didn't we? It has like, what did I say? 5-6 millimeters of up travel. We're only building for a couple of millimeters of up travel. We are going to look through our drawer of 2.5s. We located them all. That one looks brand new. It's one of those days. We're going to treat ourselves. We're going to drill these holes with a brand new 2.5. Shock, panhard. That is front upper. Those are the skid mounts. We've got mid upper. We've got rear lower, rear upper. Those ones are important. And we're just going to drill them all 2.5. Now, some of you might be hollering, you fool. The front end has to move back 4 millimeters in order to maintain the same length. You're going to have shocks that are leaning slightly forward. No, as soon as I powered up the drill press, I remembered that this skid doesn't have the same spacing as the TRX4 skid, and I just didn't drill those holes in the front. So, with 4 millimeters, it may well be that hole will be one of the mount holes. I'm going to do it element style. We're going to leave a little stack on there so that we can raise this up and down. But because what we have to do is, to be completely honest, we have to throw an axle at it. We have to put an axle on this so that, well, we have to attach the front and mid axle lowers to this so that we can determine that front spacing and to see if our mid spacing is still good. And I think the mid spacing should be absolutely fine because we accounted for it. Now, the existing axle is disgusting. and really needs to be completely disassembled and have its parts cleaned and combined with, let's see how many bins we can pull out. Okay, by the way, we'll move this over here. Relevant bins at this juncture. And, nope, not that one. Not that one. Yeah. So this is Jolly Green right now. This is where Jolly Green exists. We need to put that. No. Yep. We need to incorporate that into that. So this is why I don't know how long these episodes are going to go. I really don't. We talked a bit and we drilled some holes. Let me pull that apart, start to move the parts over. And if I think of something during that, I'll pop this back on. We have fast forwarded in time a long way, and I didn't do what I ordinarily do, which is start doing a bunch of stuff, and then I just have to tell you about it and not show it. I was putting this axle together. It probably took 45 minutes to build this axle, to get the parts out of the old axle, clean the pieces for this, get this one put back together. And I believe that is because we have a center axle housing from Yeah Racing. We have a cover from RC 4-wheel drive. There has been a fairly reasonable amount ground out of the inside of it, because if you put an overdrive gear in the front axle with this cover on this housing, they don't really want to play well with each other. I had it apart and back together many, many times. These are no-name C-Hub. These are Trial, the link mounts. And someone was foolhardy enough to say, I would love the locker mechanisms from Terex 6 axles. So I'm just assembling the... I'm going to send him these in a little care package. There'll be 3 of them. Because I don't really have any use for the housings. Right? And I don't like the red covers. So those are going to go. I am curious about one thing before we get any further into this, and that is this. This does have 2 shocks dangling off of it, so you can trim a couple grams, but that is 834 grams for that front axle. 1.8 pounds for the front axle. There's a brass cover you could throw on there. I mean, we've got a titanium drag link and a Delrin upper, which is fine. I am not looking to add any more weight to this front axle. I still do have the stub axles that I want to swap into the longer stubs so I can run brass hexes. They're here in the bin somewhere. But this all went together, and now it's pretty nice. It would not rotate in the correct direction for probably about 30 minutes. It was real touch and go there for a minute. And basically, as I now know, well, I have hopes. The center axle, let me move this. So here's the center and the rear. The center and the rear are Yeah Racing parts, so we only have one cover to really deal with. Let's just cut this open while we're here. I don't think we'll experience the same level of technical fun that I had with the others. With some screws. There we go. All right, this should go. Hopefully pretty okay. We are going to have, when we weigh all these things up, I mean, we won't have big added weight to these housings like that one, but I figure there's still going to be a pound a piece. So we're probably looking at 5 pounds of axles, which on the one hand seems like a lot, and on the other hand seems like a real lot. I'm just going to grab 2 that are the same length and we'll go from there. The whole purpose, the reason that I'm here talking about what I am talking about now is I just wanted to get this attached to the skid so that we could get we can get sort of an eye on the fitment in the front end. And it started to spiral almost immediately, and I don't know why I wasn't just absolutely anticipating that, because there's like 7 different manufacturers of parts in the front axle. It's how we routinely do things around here. That is a really heavy axle. Is it still written down? Do I still have it written down what the front axle weighs? Ow. I do. I found it. I thought it was on the whiteboard, but no, we wrote it down on paper. Front axle was 753 grams. What did I say? We're 850 now, so we picked up 100 grams. And then 380 and 328. So yeah, figure probably, because that was plastic with plastic cover on the rear. I'm figuring 450 a piece for the others. So 1,700 and some odd grams just for the axles. It'll be a fun time. It'll be an absolutely fun time. And what I didn't check was clearances on this. We're probably going to have to relieve this skid to clear TRX4 ends. We will know right now. No, we're absolutely good. We're absolutely good. And it does not look like it's going to have so much pinch that we're going to have to change the ends. I really don't want to rebuild the links. I don't know if I'm making that clear enough. They are a little... Okay, they're on 7mm ends and they need 7.5s, so we will have to pop the balls out of those. But they do indeed, once they have the angle on them, yeah. Also, Panhard is going to have to be either rebuilt or re-ended, because I didn't notice these hollow balls in these particular rod ends are very, very stiff. You should not be able to do that. Now, during the construction phase, this is preferable to this because it will kind of stay in place. But yeah, we definitely have a zero clearance issue going on there. That is easily remedied. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to come out in the edit. I don't like when it takes 9 hours to film it and we end up with 40 minutes of content out of it. We're just going to keep pushing forward. I want to get this mocked up against the chassis. All right, we're about ready to put the apron back on. All I've done is I've drilled these two out to 3mm so that we can have... Oh, and I just the touch with the Dremel, just to round them out. I mean, I get it, you know. Everybody goes for incompatibility. I don't think it's an active choice. I don't think people build things specifically to make them incompatible. It seems like every manufacturer has some degree of lust with only having their stuff fit their stuff. Now we'll see if we need to move all of the marks back, and I think that we will. Because we said it was, what, 4mm? Oh, how about don't tighten one all the way down? Then maybe we can get the other one in. Maybe. I don't know. Should have double-checked the 50mm spacing. Yeah, we're not going. We're not going. How far off? Oh, okay. Sometimes, I mean, I like making content and all, but there are moments. There are moments, and they are not fleeting, where fabricating and documenting simultaneously are just a colossal pain. I have these holes at 39.3mm on centers. Where's the skid without a bunch of stuff on it? No idea. We're stuck with this one. It's probably buried under here somewhere. These are 38mm on centers. How did we get 39mm? Yeah, that is off by, eyeballing it here, I'd say 2/10 of a millimeter. So we go in irritatingly baby steps, which is we switch to a 3.3 millimeter drill bit. And if that doesn't work, we'll switch to a 3.5 millimeter drill bit. And then we'll pick something in the standard if that doesn't get there, and that gets there. 3.3's got it. It's snug, but it's got it. And we need to take it off almost immediately anyway, because, okay, now this is going to be really difficult to exhibit / explain, because we need the front axle all the way to full height, but we also need to know where we can cut this and where we can't cut this, because the chassis is basically oriented for full droop right now. So I don't want to cut I don't want to cut up here where panhard and shock mount are. We're going to have to cut a lot. Here's the thing. We're going to have to cut a lot. So I am going to go from about, we just need enough to clear so we're going to go here and there, because I barely know how to glue metal together. I can weld a tiny little bit. I can't weld aluminum at all, so we can't use the woodworking method of cutting some back on. I want to cut basically the minimum amount of material. So we're going to cut straight across. This is basically parallel with the bottom of the chassis. So if we cut parallel to the bottom of the chassis, I wonder if my little bit of parallax, when I didn't even this thing up with the board, I wonder if that got us into the 0.2 millimeter. I mean, it probably did. So we're going to cut that off right there, which is not nearly enough. And we also just realized, you're familiar with how a bandsaw works? This cut is no problem. We go in like that. But then when we have to cut this, there's like the whole wheels and blade coming around on that side. So we have to transfer these to the other side so that we have marks on both sides. We want this chassis. The goal on the day is to have this chassis plate as roughly cut as possible. We don't want anything, in my preference, and I'm going to jump back into American here for a minute, we don't want anything within 3/4 of an inch of where the final cuts are, because we are going to chop this plate enough to mock axles in place so that I know where the front holes are, I know where to cut, I know where to drill, and then I'll know where to cut. So it'll have a chunk cut out here, and then probably we'll go around the same, it'll have a chunk cut out here, and then it'll have a chunk cut out here, because this little part will have a little wang-dangus that comes down to attach the rear axle. We want to be able to attach all 3 axles to this plate with it as big and chunky as it is. It takes a little longer. It's a little more irritating dealing with filming it, but I'm going to cut that off. And then the only hope is that we cut it back far enough to clear the link. Yeah, I definitely did not have to... I'll finish this thought in a minute. I did not have to change that bandsaw blade. It went through this like nothing. No WD-40 or nothing. Just went dry. Forgot to put on my aprons, and I have aluminum all over me. Well, I rescind that. I have more aluminum on me now. It's just a giant bottle of Pledge. Okay. All right. This is a technical procedure here. Get some stuff out of the way here. We only, nope, flip. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. Okay. So, The axle has definitely moved back. We'll be sitting, that's sitting in or about ride height. So yeah, our shock holes are a little low and a little far back. It sounds like that helicopter is going to come into the building. All right, so we can kind of squidge it over. Oh no, look at that. You can't see it. That hole lines up pretty much precisely, but lean forward because the axle has in fact moved back. Okay, let me try to get my pinion angle. We'll probably be right about there, I would think. Oh, this is working. This is working out, everybody. Come on. Okay. That's inexplicable. All right. The axle has moved aft. Where are we at? Where are we at? Jeez. I'd say 12 or 13 millimeters off of that skid positioning. But the Panhard mount is pretty much dead straight. That's just lined right up. At most, it would move. No, that's straight. If I'm running that angle, and I would actually like to have a little more like that, just for the pinion angle, that's a sufficient amount of caster. I'm not upset about that. Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. I might scooch it forward like a millimeter from where it is right now. So that is the center mount line. And then if we go off of what it's marked at, it'd be right about there. And we've got the other guy trapped outside the rail. And then we'll squidge this over to the side momentarily to see. We will probably want to start, and here's where the fudging all comes in. We're probably going to want to start holes. I want right about there. Yep, there it is. So same exact height that it is now, but center hole, I got one eye closed, I'm squinting real good. Right about there. Yeah, this is how we do. Then I have to go through the arduous, hopefully not hour-long process of, where's me box? Where's me Excel box? I have so many bins out of frame. Oh! Did the other one look this bad when I took it out? Like I just pulled it out of the bottom of the ocean? Yeah, I think it probably did. That's very shiny. We need to get all three axles clean, square cut. That plopped in. All right. I'm going to run a little timer on myself. How long will it take to make this and this look a bit more like that? All right, we're going to get some weights, and then we'll get a couple more cuts made on those pieces so that we can make sure everything's clearing. All right, probably, I would say the middle took about half an hour, even though it felt like it was taking no time at all. It took very nearly as long as the front, and I had to fight the front quite a lot. Rear axle 473. I should be writing these down, huh? Because we had, oh, it's bolted to the thing, I don't know. 853? Let's say it was 853 for the front. The middle is now 473. That is an increase of 93 grams. And then the rear flew together. It took about 10 minutes to put this together, save for one part. We had an imposter. We had a non-Traxxas end. This rod end right here, is that another one? There's there's a couple fake ones back here. These, so 3 out of 4 on these were fakes. I don't know how those got in there. They're the exact same length and same, well, I do know how they got in there. I just wasn't paying close enough attention. And then somehow, is that right? Yeah. 492. That's the middle. 492. And now the rear, what did I say? 473? 473. So that is 112 gram gain in the middle and a... Yeah, 473. 145 at the rear. I'm guessing, I mean, obviously, we didn't weigh the shocks before, so these numbers are a little squidgy. I should have weighed an individual 2660 so we would have a better idea. Yeah, I know, I hear you. I hear you. What's the easiest one to get out? Well, these are just single shear mount, so these are easiest to get off. Let's make sure this is zeroed. That can't be right. 11 grams. So if we subtract the 22 from the front, we're still at 831. 22 from the middle puts us at 470. And 22 from the rear puts us at a nice, comfortable, toasty 451. We've still picked up a not insignificant amount of unsprung weight, which is going to make our weight total, actually, let's be honest about it, not that difficult to obtain. The rails, it genuinely to me feels like this weighs about the same as a chassis rail, and this is a 4.5 by 23 plate. When these are fully cut down, I'm almost certain that the two of them together will weigh less than one chassis rail. Then we have all the 2-speed mechanisms that have been removed, which were, you know, mostly unsprung, but a bit of sprung. Okay. All right, stay. Close enough. All right, mid. Let's not get them confused again. So the mid is going to go, well, what do you know? Where the mid goes. So we will use the same line. We'll use the same line. This is all we're getting to today, guys. We're going to mock these 3 into place, and then we will call it quits. We will put our, what did I say it came out to? 1,000 minus 30. So 970 and 850, 1,900 grams. Almost 2 kilos of axles. And then, what did the Dash RCs weigh? 1,700. That's 3,600 grams of unsprung. There's a good chance that we're gonna end up with like 70% unsprung weight. There's gonna be like no weight to this. We're gonna like drive up the sides of trees. He truly will become the angry caterpillar. There's actually 2 fake rod ends on that one as well. Those snuck up on me a little bit. Shucks here. Okay, let's set it roughly in line with where we think we are. That one should sit on the line. There. Yeah, see, I would have cut it in the completely wrong spot. We need to cut about there to about there. That is some top tier eyeballing. Just cutting a little square out here. We'll go zoop, and then we'll go zoop. It ain't gotta be precise. We'll go like that. And we do have to transfer to the back. So we might as well make sure this is still on the mark. There it is. We'll do a little. Little burr up there. And then we'll catch these, make these cuts. Then we can note the rear axle position. Make a couple more cuts. Well, I'm really not getting those lined up on the first try. Am I right about there? Let us remove another square of aluminium. Now, if anyone was wondering if I was employing my safety squints, yes I was. Right about there-ish. Okie doke. Okie doke. I want it right about like that. Axle is right there. Yep. That's actually probably a fair, decent starting point for the rear shock holes. Those did indeed happen to line up pretty close to exactly where they should be. Is the rear axle, does it look like it's pushed back? Well, out of my way, out of my way, out of my... No, it's right there. It's right there. All right. We are, it all, from a distance, might almost look like we know what we're doing. I went ahead and I just ran a tap through that hole so we could attach the upper link so we could see how this looks. And yeah, that looks just about right, because that is about ride height, right about there, and full droop is right about down there, which straight droop is not indicative of articulation. So we're so far so good. This actually, I'm looking at the dimple for where the front upper goes. Yeah, it might move a little bit, both of, I might actually move it down close. Traxxas's geometry, we're hybridizing. So where this front comes out, if I have to replace the front, so be it. If it comes out longer or shorter, whatever it need to be, we have all of this meat there. We don't have to remove very much to get a Stealth X to clear. If I can find it. The Stealth X will be affixed right here. It can almost attach with the plate uncut, and then that is a good line right there. And it sits up a little higher, so TRX4 drive shafts, 99% chance are not going back on. I do hope that that bag of Yeah Racing ones will articulate enough to fit, that they won't bind. Otherwise, we'll figure out something. Injora's cut lengths, whatever they might be. The rear is forever a question until that question is answered. And then the rear axle is going to want to go, yep, upper and lower right there. Okay, so we need to go to about right. We're just going to go to that line. We're going to go to that line. One more cut. Well, okay. So we're gonna go to the line that was already established in the shock tower, that, and then across. We'll cut the back of that off. We'll throw some screws back in it, and we'll get this inkling of an idea of what this is going to sort of look like. And you end up with something like this. I should have gone forward, probably about to where my blue line extends, which is right about there. Should have cut out more. The shock is hitting it. The bolt on the shock is hitting it. But both mid and rear axle look just about right. The plate is sitting flat. We will figure out what we need to do in terms of how far to cut it up. But in essence, I need to make another little cut. I need to cut a little bit of that off so that it's not binding on the shock. I can't like get this axle slid over to line up with the other one because the shock mount hits right on. You know, you're in a hurry. And then we will be to the point where we can bolt these things together. Because I have so much sacrificial material here, far more than what we would typically have, I will do where I know stuff is going to cut out. We're going to cut out there. We're going to cut this off. We're going to cut this off. I will drill some holes, double tap them. We bolt the two plates together. So this guy and his partner, we will double bolt those plates, and then we will get down to the nitty gritty. Like we'll mark a line along the bottom of the chassis. That's all in the next one, to where we know where the bottom is that going to be. We'll know whether or not our hopeful sliders will fit on. We will make sure that we leave enough real estate for braces to fit. Can probably get a brace right about there, right over the axle. We might just put 2 and 2, one over either axle. This part does come up higher. We'll have to take that into account. I don't know if we want to go organic or angular. I haven't made any of these decisions yet. What I do know is that, let's see. Yeah. 446. So we actually shortened 5 millimeters on the wheelbase total. The rears should still have the exact same spacing, 130. Looks, I mean, here in the rough, it looks like 132. And then the spacing there to there is what dropped down. We are now at about 315. So I think all net some positives. I don't think we're going to have anything negative. What I think we're going to have is a tremendous amount of unsprung weight. What did I say? 3,600 grams. Keeping him under 10 is going to be a trick, because I did not anticipate how heavy the wheels and tires plus the axles were going to be. I did not anticipate 1,900 grams of axles. And perhaps we will have the opportunity to find out, is there indeed a point of diminishing returns when it comes to unsprung weight? I don't think we're going to find out. We're going to put an Axe 3300 in this, which I will do the computation, and I will find out what our respective axle ratios are when this all goes together. It's going to be a tremendous amount of reduction. Let me get one real quick. So the rearmost axle will be the slowest moving. That is 23 divided by 9 is 2.555555, infinitely repeating. So 2.5 times 3.5. So the rear axle has an 8.75 to 1 ratio. Stealth X is 2.6 internal times 2.6. It's 22.75. And if we run, say we run a 1456, which is 4 to 1, 22.75 times 4, that's 91 to 1 for the rear axle. We might end up with like a 24 tooth pinion on this thing, and I ain't mad about it, because the closer your two main gears are in tooth count, the smoother that ratio is going to be. The smoother your power delivery is. Everything. This comes from cycling knowledge. The closer you get those two gears together, the better everything is. So if we can run and what goes into what can we go into a 54? 1854. It's 3 to 1, right? 54 divided by, am I thinking wrong? Yeah, 3 to 1. So 22.75 times 3. That'd get us 68 to 1. 68 to 1 is very, very manageable. Now, 3,300, it might be spicy hot. We're not going to make any spur pinion decisions. And, ladies and gentlemen, we are restrained to 5mm bore with the axe. We've got most of them. Like, how big is that guy? 20. And I know I have bigger. I think I have a 22. Got a 24. I got a 24. We can go pretty big. We can find out if you can fit an Emax spur on a Stealth Axe. Put a 72 on there. 24-72. 3-1. And just an absolutely world. You'd be able to see it through the windshield. Oh. Huh. Well, we might have to find out if it works. We will find out if the whole thing works in due time. But for today, we have done more than enough. The only thing that we haven't done is thank you all so very much for watching. To mention that I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And of course, as always, in between now and... Boy, I hope that smells blown in through the door, because it smells weird. Hope to see you in the next one. And in between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you again here from the canyon. Jolly Green is going to be really, really unsprung.